So, hi Dennis. Today I'm going to ask you some questions about language and your language use. And well, the main topic of this interview is about bilingualism. And let's get started. My first question is, how many languages do you speak?
Well, matter of fact, I speak like 3 languages fluently, which are German, Polish, and English, and a little bit of Spanish as well. And yeah, that's basically it. But most of the time, it switches between German, Polish, and English.
Okay, so where did you learn English?
Like everybody else had to in school. Matter of fact, I didn't like it at first. I hated it. I hated to learn languages and vocabulary, but in the end, you can see it stuck well to me.
Right, yeah. And where did you learn Polish?
Polish, I learned it when I was young, when I was still a child. My parents are from Poland originally, and so I had to learn Polish, and then they came from Poland to Germany. So it was the first language I came in contact with, besides German, and it was also hard to be in kindergarten at first because, well, I was basically just speaking Polish instead of German. So yeah, I learned from my parents and my family abroad.
So Polish is your next main language beside German. So I would like to focus on that a little bit more. So my next question. Well, you already answered it. But in what languages do you communicate with your parents?
With my parents, when we are alone, we basically try it in German, because the German of my parents isn't that good, and we're still trying to emphasize it so that they become better German speakers, which is pretty hard. Everybody who has parents from abroad, from a different country, who are speaking a different language knows this. But when we are around family, we tend to speak Polish more, because it's the atmosphere is there, and you feel just comfortable speaking the language of your ancestors, kindly.
And have you even noticed that the Polish language influenced the German language in a way, for example, in terms of grammar or pronunciation?
Well, grammar and pronunciation, the best friends of a kid from parents from a different country. Well, that wasn't a quite good description of it, but let's continue with this point. Grammar and pronunciation, well, it was hard for me in school, in elementary school, to learn the German grammar and to speak proper German, like right German, correct German. And so, well, my father, in German you say if something means nothing to you, kind of, you say mir scheißegal. And my father always said scheiß mir egal. So that's, I think, quite a good example for grammar and pronunciation things. I would rather say words with lots of A's and stuff like that. We lengthen the word, like we don't say Adidas, we say Adidas. Or because of the different S pronunciation in Polish, we don't say Soße, we say Soße. So like zusammen from a B. Or how do you say it? Yeah.
So you would say yes, it's
Yeah.
influenced your German languages.
Still.
Still, okay.
I'm an engineer. and I can.
Have you ever noticed that you've forgotten parts of the Polish language?
Yeah, well, when I moved out, I wasn't speaking that much Polish anymore. With whom? Because I haven't seen my parents like a lot of times since I moved out, and well, then you're not that often in Poland anymore because you're trying to do a vacation anywhere else, and so yeah, quite frankly, I lost some knowledge or some words, but it's still enough to communicate with somebody on a certain level.
So even though you just told me that your German language skills are better, do you have a language preference?
Language preference? Yeah, I would say German, because that's the language I'm speaking every day, besides English and sometimes Polish. Yeah, so that's what I can say to this question.
And another question which interests me a lot is how easy is it for you to switch between these languages? And do you know this, that you switch? Or is it just...
Yeah, I notice it. It is easy when I'm talking with my dad. It's just I just throw in some random word or just a word in Polish, and then we continue in German or Polish. It's a thing of in which mood I am, to be honest.
You would say? Okay.
Yeah.
And have you ever experienced weird or negative happening or action just because of the fact you're bilingual?
Many times. When I was a child in school and kindergarten, you were being kind of like harassed because you couldn't, not harassed, but you know how kids are. If you can't articulate yourself properly or talk in a certain manner, they're trying to pick you up on that, and and then well, that's it. So lots of negative, not lots of, but some negative moments for sure. But in the end, everything was still all right.
So let's focus on the positive things. So in contrast, do you ever have experienced a positive action because of the term or of the fact that you're bilingual?
Yeah, it's quite cool to see the similarities people have with you, things you have in common, things you have experienced, because you are bilingual or bicultural. You grew up with more than one language. And it's also cool if you travel around and meet people from your parents' country and you are able to talk with them. So that's also very helpful to reach another level of communication with the person, and maybe also the person opens up a little bit more. I think of it being also very useful in matters of business, because if you can communicate in Polish with a Polish salesman, businessman, it's giving him a better or a more comfortable vibe with you, and a trustful atmosphere. So yeah, I think there are some very positive points, and that they are frankly they frankly outweigh the negative aspects.
Yeah, you're mentioning really interesting things, especially these things that people tend to change if they feel like you understand them or you can talk to them in their language. So that's really interesting to me because I do not experience that. And let's come to my last question. Would you say that you're proud or happy to speak more than just one language? And if yes, why? And if no, why not?
I wouldn't say I'm proud or happy. I would rather say I'm thankful to have the privilege to to have not to go to a school to learn a language basically nobody really wants to learn, because it's just Polish. Come on, you can just speak it in Poland and nowhere else. So yeah, I would rather say very happy about that, but not proud and thankful for it. So I didn't have to study like grammar books or read texts or stuff like that. I was born and it was just given to me like the milk of my mother.
Yeah, right. So thank you very much for this interview. And yes, do you want to say
welcome.
Anything else? No? Okay, thank you very much.